Good evening. I call to order this meeting of the Coweta County Board of Education, December 13th, 2022, Agenda 782. If you'll please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Recognitions, Dr. Horton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I'll call on Public Information Officer Dean Jackson to bring you recognitions. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Dr. Horton. We have several recognitions tonight, starting with our core business, and for that, we have an anatomy lesson brought to us by Noonan High School. I'll call on Noonan High School Principal Chase Puckett to come down and introduce.
Good evening. It is our privilege to be here with you tonight, recognizing the Coweta County School System's 5-year strategic plan emphasizes preparing students to be college and career ready. It is my privilege to share with you why I have the coolest job in the county. Tonight, I get to share with you how Noonan High School has been incorporating 21st century technology as we prepare students to be college and career ready by providing advanced opportunities for all students. Prior to the tornado, we had a flexible learning space known as the Flex Lab. We'd bring our students in so they could take virtual field trips and conduct labs in that space. After the storm, our innovative teachers said, we are not going to let our circumstances keep us providing those phenomenal opportunities for our students. So today, you're going to get to see them as they use this augmented technology for anatomy. And I'm hoping at the end, when they invite you down, some of our board members who are believers in advanced opportunities will come down and play with the technology. It is my privilege to introduce you to Ms. Donna Amador and Jordan Kennard and two of our fantastic students.
Good evening. My name is Jordan Kennard, and I'm one of the athletic trainers at Noonan High School, where I teach sports medicine and environmental science. Recognizing the importance of students being able to connect anatomy to injuries and how they are treated in 10th through 12th grade, we are focusing on teaching students how to apply this knowledge as they also demonstrate their ability to identify, evaluate, and treat injuries this year. In order to master one of our standards in anatomy and sports medicine, we provided the following learning activity for our students. First, we teach our students the various parts of the brain and the different functions that each of these parts have. From there, students use their individual tablets to scan the 3D anatomy mats, which you see over there, to see and understand the real anatomy of the human brain, bringing the organ to life while also gaining a better understanding of the physical structure of the brain and the parts that are oftentimes damaged as a result of a concussion. This allows our sports medicine students to have a better understanding of concussion protocols after a major injury. The goal is to teach our students not only about the anatomy of the brain, but also to prepare them for their future career in sports medicine, nursing, or any other medical profession they choose. This also allows our students to be better prepared if they choose to volunteer as a student athletic training aide in our sports medicine program. We are providing our students with real-world knowledge on concussions and providing them with real-life applications by creating concussion awareness for our school, our athletes, and our community.
Good evening. My name is Donna Amador, and I am the Anatomy and Physiology teacher at Noonan High School, as well as the Science Bowl sponsor and Science Department chair. Recognizing the importance of students in human anatomy and physiology to be able to explain the relationship between body structures and their functions, we're focusing on using models such as the augmented reality anatomy mat to develop these skills. The MedTable AR system allows students to visualize structures and regions of the human body with 3D detail, as well as information about the function of each body part. Students are able to use the tablets and scan the anatomy mat where they can view a specific body part or an entire body system. In order to master one of our standards in anatomy, my students used the anatomy mat to do a virtual dissection of the human brain. They were able to focus on different lobes of the brain and develop a general understanding of the neuroanatomy. With this information, they were then able to determine which areas of the brain are directly related to concussion symptoms and how the brain responds to a concussion. And the goal of this lesson was to use data from a real-life scenario involving a concussion to develop an explanation for how this injury would affect brain functions.
My name is Jada Grant, and I'm a sophomore at Noonan High School. In Ms. Kennard's class, we are asked to apply ourselves each day by using the skills and knowledge we learn in her classroom to assist the athletic trainers that treat athletes at Noonan High School. The thing I like most about her class is how hands-on it is. This activity taught me how not all concussions are the same and how different symptoms can be caused by which aspect of the brain is affected. Therefore, it makes it challenging to properly diagnose and treat concussions. For this lesson, we are placed into groups, and we use the anatomy mats to get a general overview of the nervous system, with the main focus being the brain. Next, we were able to hone in on the different regions of the brain to gain a better understanding of exactly which regions of the brain are affected and are damaged in a concussion. This activity taught me how this subject connects to the real world by showing the reasoning behind what athletic trainers and medical professionals do to properly treat concussions and return athletes back to play safely. My future goals include majoring in kinesiology in college and working in the medical field. After we made these handouts, we were able to bring more awareness amongst the students and staff about concussions. For example, interesting facts are girls' high school soccer suffer more concussions than high school football. Girls are 4 times more likely to get concussed than boys in high school football. Thank you.
My name is McCoy Woodham, and I'm a senior at Noonan High School. In Ms. Almador's class, we're asked to apply ourselves each day. We begin each class by taking part in a rigorous Q&A that we like to call bell ringers. These bell ringers set the tone for the previous instruction and also preview what's coming in the weeks to come. The thing I like most about this class is the labs and dissections that we do for most of the units. This activity taught me that helped me to understand better parts of the brain and the different lobes and their functions. To begin, Ms. Almador and I used the augmented reality anatomy mats to gain a better understanding of the structure of the brain. Next, we were able to focus more specifically on the different lobes as they related to concussion protocol. This activity taught me how this subject connects to the real world by helping explain how different parts of your brain interpret different things. For example, personality, speech, hearing, sight, etc. are all interpreted by different parts. Therefore, damage or trauma to the different parts of the brain would have different effects in a concussion. For example, damage to the occipital lobe would affect vision, the frontal lobe would affect personality traits, and the cerebellum or brainstem would affect motor control. Damage to the brainstem can be seen through the actions of Tua Tagovailoa after he was concussed in the Dolphins' Week 3 game. He experienced posturing, or the flexing of the fingers and hands due to the collision, indicating that he experienced trauma to the brainstem. My future goals include majoring in biochemistry to become a cardiologist, and I know that taking Ms. Almador's class has helped me to prepare for the class I'm going to take. We would now like to invite any of the board members down if they want to use the mats to look at the brain or any body systems and check it out.
And guys, thank y'all for coming while the board members are returning to their seats. You know, there are a couple things that come to mind related to our strategic plan and what you're learning. Number one, advanced content. You guys are learning things that I didn't learn until I was in anatomy and physiology in college. That's number one. And then just the relevance, the real world relevance. So Ms. Amador, Ms. Kennard, thank you guys for what you're doing. Dr. Hurston, appreciate the work that you do each day. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, you guys have been through a lot over there, and it is so uplifting to see that the challenging work, the advanced opportunities for all students do not stop because of storms. And that's a credit to the leadership at Newnan High School and the job that you're doing. So thank you very much.
Our school system is nearly at its Christmas and New Year's break, and that means that we get to observe a tradition that we have observed for several years, and that is a presentation by 4-H. The 4-H is a big part of our school system and is a very important part of a lot of students' experiences that go through our school system. And they have come and made a recognition of the board for several years now. And I'd like to introduce Ms. Roberta Prince, who's going to make that presentation.
Be careful with my cookies, Roberta. Bring them down slowly.
It doesn't matter what I say, they're going to be watching the box anyway. So thank you guys for having me tonight. I'm Roberta Prince with Coweta County 4-H. You guys are such an important part of our programming. We rolled out this year statewide what we call a Thrive model. And it's not really any different than what we've ever done, but it's a different way of looking at things. And at the base of that, we have something we call a spark. And 4-H is where kids can come if they haven't found a place where they can find a spark. And that spark can grow and become something much more. And for me, it's so rewarding to see kids find their spark. But without you guys and your support, we would not be able to be in the schools, in those 5th grade classrooms, and meet those kids and help them find their spark. So we appreciate you so much. And I'm going to introduce and let one of our 4-Hers talk tonight. This is Faith Whitlock. She's I'm going to let her introduce herself. I won't tell everything about her, because then she'll be like, why did you have me come? All right, Faith.
Hi, my name is Faith Whitlock. I'm in 9th grade, and I've been in 4-H since about 5th grade. I recently got back into it after being out of it for a couple of years, but I really enjoy it, and over the summer I went to Camp Jekyll, and it was really fun. I had a lot of fun learning about different animals and like the ecosystem, and just like all different activities there were. I went to district in 5th grade, and I won 2nd place on my project. And I plan on going back to district and winning again, so.
I think my long-term involvement with Coweta 4-H is well known, so I won't bore everybody with that story again. Thank you, Roberta. And we'll pass them around. So, just want to say thanks to the other board members and Dr. Guy and Dr. Horton for the support over the years of Coweta 4-H. It certainly impacted my kids, and it continues to do so. So thanks for all that they do and all that y'all do to support it.
For one more presentation tonight, we have a recognition of several of our Coweta County social sciences teachers and programs. Several teachers and their programs were honored with a number of state-level honors at the Georgia Council for Social Studies annual conference held earlier this fall. We have several of them here tonight, and I'm going to call on Coweta County Social Studies Content Specialist Philip Sykes to introduce them. And while Dr. Sykes comes up, since he probably is not going to mention this himself, I'd like to take a moment to note that Dr. Sykes himself was also one of the educator honorees at this year's GCSS conference. He was recognized with the GCSS Outstanding Social Studies Leader Award for his work with the teachers in our school system and with the Department of Education. Congratulations to him, and congratulations to many of the people here tonight. So.
All right. Good evening, everybody. As you guys know, my name's Phil Sykes, and I would like to just share a couple of accomplishments that our teachers have earned this school year. The Georgia Council for Social Studies, GCSS, is an educational organization that works to advocate and highlight social studies education across the state of Georgia by providing teachers with quality resources as well as professional learning and network opportunities. Each year, the organization receives nominations from across the state and selects exceptional social studies teachers, departments, and leaders who are positively impacting social studies education across Georgia's schools. This year was the Council's first in-person state social studies conference since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic and spotlighted multiple dynamic social studies professionals from across the state at the conference luncheon on October 27th. Coweta was well represented this year as several awards were presented to a few of our teachers. I'd like to start off by calling down Ashley Dawson from Blake Bass Middle School. Come on down. This year, Miss Dawson teaches 8th grade Georgia studies at Blake Bass, received the Gwen Hutchinson Outstanding Educator Award. This award is given to social studies teachers who provide outstanding social studies instructional opportunities both in and outside of the classroom while also fostering the development of democratic values and citizenship within the community. Ms. Dawson is extremely involved at Blake Bass Middle School and consistently leads the way for interactive, relevant, and out-of-the-box instructional practices for social studies teachers at her school and across Coweta County school system. Please help me congratulate Ms. Dawson on her accomplishment. Proud of you. Thank you. All right, our next award, if I can get the Madras Middle School Social Studies Department, or some of them, to come down. This is the 8th grade team. All right. Each year, GCSS recognizes various programs that provide exemplary social studies education to students. This year, Madras Middle School sent 8th grade Georgia Studies teachers Jeff Welch, Jimmy Countryman, and Lauren Holstein to accept the 2022 GCSS Program of Excellence Award on behalf of the hardworking and dedicated Madras Middle School Social Studies Department. Madras Middle School Social Studies Department strives to make social studies as relevant and hands-on as it possibly can. The lessons offered to students at Madras are highly engaging and make relevant connections, bringing the history of our state and world to life. I'm super proud of the work, as a former Eagle, that these teachers do daily, and am excited that their hard work was recognized at the state level. Please help me congratulate these teachers. Good job, guys. All right, now I've got one more award, and this is not a GCSS award. This is a Georgia Ed Tech Conference Award, and this is a state organization that hosts a conference just for technology, integrating technology into the classroom. So I did not get to attend this conference this year, but Coweta was not without representation. Several of our Empower teachers who are here tonight got to attend this conference to support their virtual lessons at Empower. So I would like to now bring down Miss Christy Thompson. Miss Christy Thompson teaches 6th and 7th grade social studies for Empower. No, 7th and 8th. She was 6th last year, but this is her 7th and 8th grade this year. All right, the Georgia EdTech Conference Rising Star Educator Award is intended to recognize an emerging leader in Georgia K-12 schools whose record reflects ongoing exceptional growth in the field of education and a passion for technology integration that transforms learning for students, fellow teachers, and the community of educators at large. At this year's conference, Christy Thompson was honored with the Rising Star Educator Award. Christy's creativity and and adaptability in the virtual world is evident every day. I've got to go in and work with her multiple times, and what she does with the technology is just unreal. She is a true leader in all aspects of technology education and is always willing to collaborate with other teachers in order to support and encourage their love of integrating technology. Please help me congratulate Christy for her accomplishment. I would just like to say that going to the state conference is extremely powerful for me as a professional, but getting to work alongside other educators and meeting with other coordinators from across the district, it's very humbling to get to go there and then come back here and realize how good we have it in Coweta County. And I know a lot of that is because of the work that you guys do on the board and what you guys, I guess, value social studies as a content area. So we really appreciate it from our hearts as social studies lovers, and we just appreciate everything you guys do as well. Merry Christmas.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the November 8th, 2022 meeting?
So move.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? All right. Motion carries 5-0 with Buzz will abstain. Mr. Glover will abstain since he was absent. All right. Moving on to action items, Group 1. Dr. Horton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first action item I have for you in Group 1 is to approve 2023 Board of Education meeting dates, times, and the location. The Coweta County Board of Education regular meetings will be held on the dates listed below at 6:30 p.m. at the central office located at 167 Wurz Industrial Boulevard. Those dates are January 10th of 2023, February 14th of 2023, March 14th of 2023, April 11th of 2023, May the 9th, June the 13th, July the 11th, August the 8th, September the 12th, October the 10th, November 14th, and December 12th. Madam Chair, I recommend approval of those dates. Meetings still be held at this location. Regular meetings only, this location.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the 2023 Board of Education meeting dates, times, and locations. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
Next action item I have for you in Group 1 is to appoint Coweta County's 2023 Georgia School Board Association Legislative Liaison. We need to identify or appoint a member of the board to serve on GSBA's Legislative Liaison Network as Coweta County's representative for the 2023 session of the Georgia General Assembly. The appointee will attend GSBA's annual 2023 Summer Conference in Savannah during June of 2023. Madam Chair, I recommend approval, and I guess with that, we'll open the floor.
All right. Yes, we'll open the floor. Are there any nominations for a person to serve as the legislative liaison?
Yes, Madam Chair. I'll nominate Mr. Larry Robertson for this great honor.
All right. We have a nomination for Mr. Robertson. Are there any other nominations? All right. Is there a motion to close the nominations?
Motion to close.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? All right. Motion to close the nomination carries 6-0. All right. And is there a motion to approve Mr. Robertson as, we have a motion to approve him. So, or a nomination. I guess give a formal motion if you would, Mr.
Motion to approve Mr. Robertson.
All
Now
right.
second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 6-0? Is your hand up? Okay, all right. All right.
You against
Thank
it,
you.
Larry?
Thank
The next action item I have for you in Group 1 is to approve an MOU for Project Nova. Approval is requested to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Coweta County Development Authority and the Coweta County Board of Commissioners regarding the recently announced Freyr Battery Project, also known as Project Nova. Copy of the MOU is attached. Board members, I'll mention a couple of things related to the MOU. This MOU outlines the scope of the Freyr Battery Project, which is estimated to be in the $2.6, $2.7 billion range. This MOU also outlines the incentives or inducements that were offered by the Development Authority for this project, the length of those incentives or inducements. The system will continue to receive revenue as part of the agreement that is in place. And there is no obligation on the part of the school system related to bonds issued for this project. All of that is included in the MOU. So, Madam Chair, I recommend approval.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the memorandum of understanding for Project Nova. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Dr. Horton, it's pretty obvious that we don't have any control over what they pass in those groups that were passed down to us, and we're just saying we understand it, correct?
Yes, sir. My understanding is that under Georgia law, the sole discretion to offer any inducements for proposed economic development projects or to deny any inducements rests with the Development Authority. The board does not have any discretion over that. So this MOU does basically say that we understand the parameters of that project. Yes, sir.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
The next action item I have for you in Group 1 is to approve a proposal from Willis Road Elementary for the purchase and installation of playground equipment. The Willis Road Elementary PTO requests approval for the purchase of materials and installation of playground equipment for the school. Equipment will be purchased by the Willis Road PTO. The total project cost for materials is $36,490.10. Requirements of board policy FEAE have been met. Supporting documents are attached. Madam Chair, I recommend approval.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve a proposal from Willis Road Elementary for the purchase and installation of playground equipment to be funded by the Willis Road Elementary PTO. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
The last action item I have for you in Group 1 is to approve a contingency change request to modify the generator and transformer pad for the Newnan High School Gymnasium, that's BP2. Approval is requested for a contingency change request to modify the pad for the generator and electrical transformer for the gymnasium at Newnan High. Due to the size of the new equipment, the size of the specified concrete pad must be enlarged. This will require the addition of a retaining wall and fencing around the pad. Cost to modify the pad is $25,737. Change order proposal and supporting documentation is attached. Madam Chair, I recommend approval.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve a contingency change request to modify the generator and transformer pad for the Newnan High School Gymnasium. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Action items Group 3, trips.
Call on Dr. Mark Guy to bring you trips. Dr. Guy.
Thank you, Dr. Horton. The principal of Northgate High School requests permission for the Marching Viking Band to travel to Norfolk, Virginia from April 20th through April 23rd, 2023 to perform in the Norfolk Parade of Nations. Students will miss 2 days of school. There is no cost to the school system. This request does meet our guidelines for out-of-state trips.
Recommend approval.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the Northgate High School field trip request for the band to travel to Norfolk, Virginia, April 20th through 23rd, 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Superintendent's reports, Dr. Horton.
Call on Mr. Chapman to bring you your budget report and sales tax. Mr. Chapman?
Budget report, we continue to stay in good shape. Through 5 months, we're $84,000 under budget. Sales tax, continue to see good collections there, a little over $3.1 million, over a 14% increase year over year.
Dr. Guy, staff and student attendance.
Thank you, Dr. Horton. For the fourth attendance reporting period ending on December the 5th, highest staff attendance was Eastside Elementary School. Highest student attendance in the program area was Central Educational Center. Highest elementary student attendance goes to Canongate Elementary School. Highest middle school student attendance, Blake Bass Middle School. And the highest high school student attendance, Noonan High School, home of the Mighty Cougars.
Thank you, Dr. Guy. Not sure how to follow that. Board members, for our board goal report, I want to call on Dr. Julie Ration, who is our Director of Assessment and Accountability, to talk to you about Coweta effectiveness visits. This is an internal quality assurance process that we have, and she's going to elaborate on that. Dr. Ration.
Good evening. Dr. Horton actually stole my thunder. My first sentence, I am extremely excited that we have resumed our effectiveness visits. It is another indicator that we are back in business in normal times. As you're aware, these visits are one of our internal quality assurance processes we use to assess, provide feedback, and improve program effectiveness and operational conditions that enhance learning and promote student success at each of our schools. The Coweta Effectiveness Evaluation visits provide an opportunity for teams of school administrators, teacher leaders, and district staff to observe classrooms, interview stakeholders, and review data to determine the impact of school processes on developing supportive learning cultures that increase achievement. Our visiting documents are directly aligned with our strategic plan, and they monitor the impact of school and district improvement opportunities and initiatives. We focus these areas on leadership, learning, and resource capacity. While the primary purpose of our visits remain focused on building, monitoring, and supporting a performance culture in our schools, it is also designed to help build staff capacity and promote collective efficacy at each of our schools. Visiting team members learn how to identify powerful instructional practices, analyze data, evaluate effectiveness, and develop recommendations that help schools improve. During the first semester of this school year, we have completed visits at Glanton Elementary, Brooks Elementary, Eastside Elementary, and Willis Road. Our visits to these schools have provided clear evidence of processes in place that develop meaningful relationships, promote strong school-to-home connection, and support a commitment to continuous improvement. I have brought copies of these reports from these 4 schools and am pleased to share the results with each of you. As we head into the spring semester, we're going to visit another 7 schools with our goal of providing feedback to all of our schools before the end of the 24-25 school year. I'm excited to spend time in each of these new schools next semester, and I want to personally invite each of you to join us for one of our visits. I think you will find that time well spent in our schools and talking with our teams will not only motivate you, but will excite you about the good things that are taking place in Coweta County. So I do have the reports. I'm going to leave them with you just so that you can look at them later this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Dr. Horton. How long is one visit? And because I understand you have 7 to do in the spring, and we have, 33 schools?
We do. Typically, we do about 7 visits a year. Because we are condensing it into 3 years, we're doing 10 visits each school year. Most schools, it's a 2-day visit. We spend 1 day in the building doing classroom observations, interviewing, looking at evidence of school processes. The second day, we typically spend back here at Works, evaluating what we uncovered. We have a rubric that we use to score the schools. And then we spend that time to provide feedback. We give the school information on what we perceive as strengths, what are opportunities to take the school to the next level, and then we provide suggestions for things that would help the schools to improve. We do have one school visit this year at East Coweta High School that unfortunately we will not be able to complete in 1 day, so we will be in the building for 2 days at East Coweta High School.
Thank you very much.
Please come join us for that one.
I will say, while she's leaving the feedback for us, there are a couple things that are very powerful about these visits. Number one, the feedback for the schools. When you have a team of educators that can come into a school and give you an honest evaluation of whether you're meeting the strategic plan, that is incredibly powerful. And what I've noticed is our principals, they look forward to getting that report so that they can dive in and make adjustments to make the experience better for our teachers and students. But there's something else that I think is incredibly powerful about these visits. The team members that go on these visits, if you ask them to a person, every single one of them learns something to take back to make their school or their classroom a better place for kids. So that learning, that loop of learning is very, very, very powerful, and it's great to be able to tie it all together to make sure that we're doing the things that our strategic plan says that we need to be doing, but it's also wonderful to see the difference that it makes in classrooms for our kids. So thank you for your work, Julie, in putting all that together for us over the years.
Dr. Rashid, if you'll please forward some dates, I'd love to join you for part of a visit one day. Probably not the whole day, but at least to see the process in action.
Last thing I have for you tonight is the facilities and construction report. You can see Northgate. We actually, I believe, had the final fire marshal inspection on the gymnasium today. Waiting on final closeout documents on the renovations and modifications there. The addition, just awaiting some project closeout documents, have started. Actually, the Smoky Road and CEC gym fire alarm replacements are substantially complete with just a few punch list items remaining. Madras and Winston-Dowdale, we're working through those right now. Project completion scheduled for April of 2023. And then last month, you approved surveillance camera upgrades at various schools, hoping to have those completed, to have them all on the same server by January of 2023. That work is progressing nicely. If you've been by Noonan High, I think I mentioned last month that we were, to use a little construction language, going vertical. There's been a lot of going vertical, Mr. Cheek, over the last month. Gymnasium is coming out of the ground. Steel is going up. We actually last Friday poured, well, I say we, they actually poured the first footings on the academic building last Friday, and the work on the east side of Armory Road is progressing as weather permits to be able to bring that elevation up. You can look in the next couple of months. We will have to bring you a proposal for some landscaping for that site where we're raising that elevation on the east side of Armory Road. Work's progressing nicely. There's a lot going on. We're at the point in the year where, we have a decent day today and we get 3 inches of rain tomorrow. So we're having to manage some of that, but everything is still on schedule for occupation of the gym next fall and of the academic building in July of 2024. So, board members, that's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Horton. This is the time of our meeting where we set aside 45 minutes for public comment. And I'd just like to read the policy in regards to the public participation in the board meetings. To guarantee an orderly meeting and to ensure that as many people as possible have the opportunity to speak, the board has implemented the following rules regarding public comment. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes. The Board of Education will listen to each presentation without comment. After the presentation is made, each board member may respond if he or she wishes to for a period of no longer than 1 minute each. Only citizens of Coweta County or employees of the Coweta County school system may speak at the public comment portion of the meeting. No grievances will be heard concerning any specific personnel action or any specific county employee except through the grievance procedure set forth in the board's personnel policy. No one will be allowed to discuss any matter involving threatened or pending litigation with the Board of Education during the public comment portion. In the need to preserve order, no person attending will be allowed to boo, hiss, clap, cheer, or otherwise show approval or disapproval for any speaker in any manner whatsoever. No signs or placards advocating any action or position will be allowed. No personal attacks on any person will be allowed. I, as the chairman, am responsible for enforcing these rules. No citizen or system employee will be retaliated against in any manner whatsoever for speaking on matters of public concern at the Board of Education meeting. Any person not recognized within the allotted time period will be rescheduled to speak at the next meeting. And finally, requests to speak during the public comment portion must be received at the Board of Education office no later than 3 hours prior to that meeting being called to order. And there's additional information if you do would like to sign up to speak on how you can do that with speaking with Ms. Nixon, and she will get you on the list. So having said that, we have 4 people who have signed up to speak, and I will call you in the order in which your request was made. First, we have Miranda Winters.
Hello, my name is Miranda Winters. Today I'm here to talk about books being banned in schools, not only in this county, but all over the world. It is not right to stop children like myself from reading books that help them express themselves and know what they are feeling and experiencing. Some kids don't have any other resources to know that what they are feeling is not wrong, but perfectly fine. How is it okay to have books that openly oppose homosexuality and even say that they should be put to death? The Bible quotes, "If a man is with a man as with a woman, both commit an abomination. They must be put to death." So the Bible's stance is not just to bash homosexuals, but to murder them. Why would anyone want to associate themselves with such an inhumane text is beyond my comprehension. This is directly from the Bible stance on homosexuality from ncbi.gov. The only book in the library that talks about LGBTQ+ is the Bible, and you say it's because of religion. How are we allowed to have romance books about straight people, but not any books whatsoever about an LGBTQ+ person? If you want the rate of suicide and depression in LGBTQ+ teens to go down, then education starts with books. We need to be educating people on topics such as these. There is a poem that I really like by someone named Haley Amelia. It is in response to the Florida Don't Say Gay bill. Don't say gay because if the man at the gas station is having a good day, he might tell you he can fix it. Don't say gay because if the man at the gas station is having a bad day, he might just kill you. Don't say gay because on June 12, 2016, a 29-year-old man fired 202 bullets into a nightclub full of people who had the audacity to love. 53 people left the nightclub wounded. 49 never left at all. Don't say gay because no amount of pride in the world will remove the shrapnel. Don't say gay because officers wear bulletproof vests to pride parades where we wear rainbows like shields and pray to a God that does not believe in us, that should the dance be turned to gunfire, our flags will be big enough to stop the bleeding. Don't say gay because right now in 6 states, senators are arguing over whether or not trans people deserve doctor's appointments. Don't say gay because our history is not yet history. Don't say gay because we have come too far for the fight to stop here. Don't say gay because the past is running into the future. Don't say gay because Stonewall was 53 years ago, and politicians are still painting targets on our backs with the blood of Marsha P. Johnson. Don't say gay because children are impressionable. Don't say gay because queer kids might grow up unashamed of the hearts that they've inherited. Don't say gay because if they know that they don't have to keep quiet, they might throw the first brick and set the whole inn on fire. Not having books in the library about these topics does not keep us from being bullied, does not keep us from not being discriminated against. It does, however, keep us from being able to feel seen and heard. Being bullied and discriminated against at school is something that everyone in the LGBTQ+ community has experienced. A library is a safe space for most kids, and you are taking that away from us. Having LGBTQ books in the library would make us all feel heard.
Thank you.
So I guess it's done.
I'm sorry?
Do you want me to go?
You can go ahead, sure. Thank you. Next, we have Debbie Carroll. Is Miss Carroll here tonight? All right. Next, we have Mr. Alan Brady.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. First, something that I believe is encouraging news. I heard that a few of the handful of books with explicit sexual content that have been formally objected to and mentioned in prior board meetings have been removed from or restricted at some Coweta school libraries. Specifically, I was told that one was recently removed from Evans Middle School, although Smoky Road opted to keep it with restrictions. A graphic version of another was restricted at Noonan High School, but Northgate opted to keep the novel with no restrictions. And a third, which is part of a set of highly explicit novels intended for adults, was removed from Smoky Road in Noonan High School. As an aside, this book, A Court of Silver Flames, which is one of the books in the Throne of Roses set, which includes A Court of Mist and Fury, the third book referenced previously, is presently in our home collection. My wife purchased it and read it about a year ago after having read the other 4 books previously online. I haven't read any of these, but she says they're extremely well written and also extremely explicit, both sexually and in violent content, and certainly not appropriate for children. I hope that as more schools review more of this handful of books, they will come to the conclusion that they are inappropriate for minors and that they will be removed or at least restricted to students age 18 and older, which is all that we're asking. In less encouraging news, I recently watched a video of a show that aired in November on Georgia Public Television called Lawmakers Beyond the Dome. This particular episode featured a discussion panel including one of our own board members. Part of the discussion was about this board member's experiences over the last 15 months at board meetings. I was surprised to hear citizens who objected to or read from these handful of sexually explicit books present in the school libraries described as political activists who came in mean, angry, yelling, and screaming, accusing teachers and calling names and making false accusations. Board members felt embattled and police presence had to be increased due to violence. These activists were angry that parents were the only ones now allowed to object to materials, not taxpayers, since it all came down to taxpayers and money. Wow. I've been coming to these board meetings for about 15 months now myself, and after attending my first one last summer in the smaller previous room in the midst of the promotion and consideration of the eSPLOS renewal, at that meeting a certain group of people were strongly objecting to the presence on the board of one particular member in what seemed to me to be pretty angry in personal terms. Police presence was pretty heavy, but I think it was because flyers saying this particular member has got to go and calling for a street demonstration had been distributed on social media. Fortunately, the demonstration was canceled and the meeting was otherwise peaceful. I recall that after I finished my statement regarding the eSPLOS, I spent the last couple of minutes of my time talking about civility and the need for it. I've witnessed that I can think of only 3 instances where I've heard voices raised in this room. Once during the Great Mask debate, a subject I hope we never return to, a gentleman loudly objected to another speaker's statement and then voluntarily removed himself from the room. Another time, a large group of attendees said that most famous and important of Christian prayer of all time, the Lord's Prayer, out loud during the moment of silence, admittedly a violation of the rules, but the loud voices were of those who at the same time erupted in spontaneous counter something to try to drown out the prayer. And finally, I observed a member of the audience turn around and begin cursing at another audience member for no apparent reason and get escorted out of the room by law enforcement. I've never seen any speaker scream, yell, or use profanity, except when reading an excerpt from one of the books on the list, or do anything more than give, in some cases, pretty pointed criticism of board policies. I know I haven't done any of that. I've tried, as I said I would when I first began speaking to you, to provide constructive criticism only and in a calm, peaceful manner. As the Lord said in the book of Isaiah when he was trying to convince the Israelites to change their ways, "Come now, let us reason together." Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all.
Thank you. Next, we have Jasmine Meehan.
Good evening. It has been many months ago now, but No Left Turn in Education Coweta chapter put a survey out to the community on Facebook in an attempt to gather parent and teacher input on what they feel is going on in our education system. We received quite a bit of feedback, some unpleasant and very disturbing, but from what we have learned about our community over the last year or so, we were not too surprised. However, there were some responses with real issues and concerns, and I would like to share a few of them now. One parent of a Brooks Elementary and a Blake Bass Middle School student had shared that they had a concern regarding the Chromebooks. And here's what they said. Everything is on computers. The parents can't investigate or really see what is being taught. I'm uncomfortable that I do not know what is being taught. Very little is done where parents can see what is being taught. In the 3rd to 5th grade, the kids are given multiple choice spelling tests, and they have to pick, all they have to do is pick the right word. They are not really learning to spell. Another parent of a Smoky Road Middle School student had a complaint of a teacher or teachers saying that black people can't be racist and that they overlooked horrible behavior. A student actually responded out of Evans Middle School stating there is a promotion of transgenderism, homosexuality, pronouns, name changes, etc., and that they stated an issue was with some of the children not being called by the names they want to be called. And then a parent out of Lee Middle School stated something similar, that there is a promotion of transgenderism, stating that there's a teacher who claims to be non-binary and telling the kids that she may dress like a man one day and then a female another. So there are parents and even teachers with issues of all types of these same concerns over and over. You heard one parent testimony a few months ago regarding gender identity at one of our middle schools. Parents and teachers alike are scared to speak out. They do not want their names dragged through the mud or their children ridiculed or for them to be treated differently while they are at school. So you keep telling yourselves and whomever you encounter that these types of issues are not present in our county. And Mr. Allen just said it. Ms. Dees, you recently repeated all the same garb with Donna Lowry on the GPB, that same interview I got to see. But I will get back to that in just a moment. There are parents that will continue to believe everything that y'all say. I see them all on social media weekly. It's really sad. I've spoken out on the Chromebooks many times myself. I've been called a bad mother for even sharing my personal experiences. It's been said it's my fault my kid was exposed to the things that he was. And I will agree and say, yes, it was my fault. It was my fault. I trusted in a system that has failed me time and time again. And I do not fault our teachers. I do not fault the principal. I fault you all. I fault you all who make the decisions for our county. You are the elected leaders chosen by the majority to make those decisions on what goes on within our county. And I hope to see each of you removed at some point, whether that be during an election cycle or somewhere in between. We need leaders that can own what happens in this county. We need leaders that are not afraid to admit fault or even apologize when needed. We need leaders of action. We need leaders that can see the bigger and whole picture, not just what their blinders allow them to. Which takes me back to the GPB conversation. So, Ms. Dees, it was really interesting, that panel and the entire discussion. You did mention, and Alan had stated something about it, and I'll quote, so not to change a single word, but you said, "We have had to increase police presence at my school board by 9 people because of the angry violence that has been exposed over this." And what you were talking about was the obscene and explicit books being read and complained about at the meetings. You claim, and I've heard it many times, and I will quote it again, that these political activists are mean, angry, demeaning, pointing fingers with false accusations. Are you kidding? I encourage you to find the footage of me over the last 15 months screaming and yelling at you all. You won't. So what violence are you speaking of? If community members and parents coming here and exposing y'all as violence, then I guess we have a new definition of the word violence. I highly appreciate the NPD being here, and I have zero issue with our police. They have actually had to escort my chapter president and myself out to our car a few times after these meetings because of your activist friends verbally assaulting us, or in one instance, body bumping and refusing passage out of this room. You and your members of this board have made it about politics. I have made a conscious effort not to. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Meehan. Are there any board comments at this time? All right. Is there a motion to approve to enter into executive session to discuss personnel, real estate, and potential litigation?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 6-0.